So, oh yeah. Well, let's see. I think it's the 22nd. I'm definitely a little more excited about my 2 years now. Now that it's actually passed. I treated myself. Um, I bought a new phone holder that lasted about 5 minutes before I broke it. So we'll try something else again. I like the dash mounted. I basically over tightened the one screw and it broke the thread. It was, you know, the cheap universal $10 kit, So, I know it came with a cup holder one too. Maybe I'll try that angle, but then you'd be looking right up my nose, and that would be bad. I'm not even sure what today's message is going to be. Oh, I did want to say one thing to one of my subscribers, 1stseed1144. Um, I hope whatever ghosts from the past that are haunting you subside. I'm not sure who you think hacked my account or Kay's. I don't know. I can't speak for her, but I can tell you myself, no, my account was definitely not hacked, and those comments were definitely from me. And yes, I said World War II. It was meant sarcastically. So going forward, I'll refrain from my sarcastic, witty comments. I wish you the best. Anyway, um, yeah. So yeah, I made it 2 years. Obviously, I'm not stopping, but it's a pretty substantial milestone. It really is. Um, I can remember, you know, thinking back, not just this time, but previous times that I had gotten sober. And, you know, it's true what they say, the first 30 days is always the hardest. It seems like it takes forever. And then you make it through that, and then, it feels like 6 months is forever. And you make it through that, and then it feels like a year. You're like, oh my God, I can't believe I made it a whole year. Usually, sometime between 6 months and a year is when most people, if they have reservations, those start to creep up. Oh, if I make it a year, I can celebrate. So, trying to figure out what I'm going to do for the winter. I got to talk to my boss yet about overwintering. We'll see. I'm not too concerned about it at the moment. I know the universe will provide, as it always does. Um, had an interesting conversation with a friend of mine. Nice guys always finish last. Well, the joke version is because we want to, but um, I think more often than not we come across as too good to be true, and it scares people. I find that recently I've been told in very direct and not so direct ways that apparently I'm very intimidating, which blows my mind in some ways. In other ways, I can understand it because I don't put up with much bullshit. I really don't. And I call people out on their crap all the time. including myself. Though, don't get it twisted. I'm not up here on a righteous indignation, soapbox or condescending attitude. That's not it at all. Um, so coming up on Thanksgiving, I can't believe the year's almost over already. It flew by in some ways, that's for sure. I did things a little differently this year. I I've been very focused on um, self care, self preservation. Um, I'm very protective of my energy and who I share it with. I also, had made a decision to just, do something I'd never done before, and that was really just kind of put my nose to the grindstone and not necessarily work as much as possible, but hold myself to a higher work ethic than I used to in the past. And so, because of it, I've gone literally the entire year and only had two call offs. I was hoping for a perfect record, but I did get a cold. So, unfortunately, I'm not the best at budgeting yet. So, I don't have much saved up, but I'm working on it. Progress, not perfection, right? Uno momento. I always get the weirdest looks when I'm making videos in my car and people walk by. I'm like, in this day and age, is it really that uncommon to see somebody making a video or somebody talking to themselves with an earbud in? I mean, like, you know, oh yeah, I did shave up some. Didn't quite get it as close as I wanted, but so um, I got a wonderful compliment from a good friend of mine, the old director of the Alpha House. Apparently he watched the one collaboration video my sister and I did, and he liked it. He told me we did a really great job, and that we would help a lot of people, and, which I personally thought was wonderful because that's why we do it, you know. And well, okay, we have fun. I'm not gonna lie. So I guess this is going to be a random thought one because I'm just kind of rambling at this point. Um, it's funny. I've been through this process of getting sober and healing many times over now, and this is how I know that recovery is progressive, just like addiction. I can look back at the different times and I can see different things I learned and what I would notice, and the things I see now, and like guys at the house and stuff. They think they're doing great, and I have 1 2 minute conversation with him, and I'm like, no, not yet. And that's not. I'm not being judgmental. It's not the air or the thought of, oh, I'm in a better place than them, or I'm comparing myself to them. No, that's not it at all. It's just recognition of certain thinking behavior patterns and certain behavior patterns. I'm debating whether or not to cut my hair. It's getting to the point where my hair naturally, once it gets past my shoulders, will just start to dread by itself, like it's crazy. So I'm either going to cut it or I'm just going to let it dread. I haven't decided yet. um, there was a guy recently. And, okay, if you're in a rehab and you're walking around talking to people, trying to justify certain behavior patterns by beating your chest about how much of a hustler you were, chances are, um, yeah, that type of thinking doesn't change. The result is pretty inevitable. And it's funny to me because, these guys will do this kind of stuff. They'll have these attitudes. And, this guy was trying to do a no receipt return. Oh, I don't have any money. I need this. I need that. Which I'm not saying he's lying. I'm not saying any of that. I'm thinking it's the approach, it's the mannerisms, it's the attitude behind what you're trying to accomplish. You go to multiple people through the house to try to get this. And it's, and I tell these guys all the time, I'm like, that is 100% indicative of addict thinking. That is self-will run riot. You're still trying to do everything your way, the way you want to do it, when you want to do it, regardless of what anyone else is telling you, or, and when it doesn't happen, then it's, oh, I'm the victim, you know, poor me, I lost my tail, you know. And probably one of the more valuable lessons I've learned through this process is learning to listen to understand instead of listening to reply. You know, I can sit down with these people and I can talk to them and I can point these things out to them. I'm like, dude, it's your attitude, it's behavior, it's the way you think. Okay, you haven't changed that addict mentality. You haven't changed that instant gratification, my way or the highway mentality. And when it doesn't happen, then you cry victim, and the whole world's out to get you, and they're just pointing me out, and blah blah blah. And, and I try to explain to them, if nothing changes, nothing's going to change. You might have changed some of the external behaviors, some of the immediate habits, but just because you stop drinking or drugging doesn't mean you're not an addict anymore. And I think that's a big thing a lot of people miss. It's the same thing with codependence and other forms of addiction. Just because you temporarily arrested that particular physical behavior doesn't mean the underlying reasons why you got into that behavior haven't changed. That's the real work. But you talk to them, and it just, oh yeah, I get it, I understand, yeah, you're right. And then literally not 5 minutes later, you hear him, with the same rhetoric to somebody else, and it's just like, dude, really? Like, wow. Um, it's funny. Addiction and alcoholism is considered a very selfish, self-centered disease. I'll use the conventional terminology here, and it's true. At the same time, the flip side to that is, we get so self-centered that it's like we can't even see ourselves. It's amazing. It's a really weird, I don't know if you call it a juxtaposition or an oxymoron or something. It's like complete thoughtlessness of how our behavior is actually affecting ourselves. We just keep doing it. Like, and I'm 100% guilty of it. Trust me. That's why I'm laughing now, because I'm in my head, I'm thinking back to at times that I was like this and just completely oblivious to myself, yet expected, the whole world, everything would be fine if everybody just did what I said. Yeah, okay. That's great mentality there. Yeah, it worked out real well for me. You know, just I'm grateful that I can laugh at myself and my own shortcomings now. I'm grateful I can identify them, at least most of them. I'm sure I'm missing some. Uh, Believe me, I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination here. Um, Watching some kid play basketball. Even that, it's the end of November and it's like 50 degrees outside. I'm like, okay, I'm not complaining. So. Oh, I'll do that in a separate video. I was going to talk a little bit more about the whole time being a function of density thing. I wanted to make an amendment to that video. I'll make a separate one for that though. So yeah, I guess that's about it. Survive the new moon. It was intense. Yeah, I don't think I got much else. Just kind of free flowing today. Everybody have a blessed day.